What's up YouTube, Capital G here. So I really thought that I was done talking about Grinder Golem. I think at this point, most people understand and they know my opinions and my views on this card. I just made a video, a few days ago talking about 3 cards that I believed had to be banned on the next TCG ban list. And surprise, surprise, Grinder Golem was of course one of those cards. Other YouTubers have argued the same exact point. You guys have seen the degeneracy that you can do with Grinder Golem, and I even made a video expressing my frustrations with the fact that Konami and the OCG was not just kind of ignoring Grinder Golem. That's one thing, at least you can have some deniability there, but Konami was actually like embracing it. Hell, they were promoting players to play Grinder Golem. They were talking about some of the combos and some of the stuff that you could do for, I guess, the OCG players who might be under a rock and just don't know. So I thought that that was just completely crazy, because I was like, whoa, it's one thing to ignore it, but it's another thing to actually say, guys, you know, go out there and play them Grinder Golems and get that degeneracy rolling, because we need you guys to buy Link monsters. And I thought that I was kind of done, but then Konami does something even crazier, and it kind of speaks to a bigger point that I'm going to touch on. Konami, I don't think, at least in the OCG, I can say this for certain, I don't think Konami is going to hit Grinder Golem anytime soon. When you look at their behavior in regards to this card, it seems like they want Grinder Golem to be a thing for the Vrains era, at least for the foreseeable future. And if you guys don't know what I'm getting at, Grinder Golem was just revealed that it's going to be in the upcoming structure deck power code link in the OCG. Obviously, we don't know if this is confirmed for the TCG, but I think it's like, I think we can at least assume that it probably would be in there. I know that assumptions have kind of bit us in the butt in the TCG over the past week or so, but you guys know when it comes to the recent structure decks in the TCG, they've pretty much been carbon copies of the OCG. Most of the important cards have been basically taken straight from the OCG, and you know, they have appeared in our structure decks. And this is kind of crazy. For starters, I don't think I'm going to get much pushback on this. I think most players look at Grinder Golem, they hate losing to that card, and they want it out of the game. In fact, if you guys don't agree with me, listen to my very good and much smarter than me friend Lithium 2300 explain why he doesn't want Grinder Golem in the game.
Grinder Golem loop / combo Grinder Golem bounce back Grinder Golem being a 1-card Skull Draco Serpent, Grinder Golem being a 1-card Link Summon, banning Grinder Golem flat out. Biggest downside of your Grinder Golem is that, you know, it takes up a lot of extra deck space.
And for all of those who were not convinced by Lithium's amazing arguments, allow me to continue further, because this is actually just kind of crazy. So it kind of says to me, with Konami's behavior, A, they're promoting Grinder Golem, B, they're actually reprinting it. And the thing is, I know some people are going to say, Cap, what's the big deal? It's just a card in a structure deck. You have to understand that when Konami puts structure decks out, structure decks and starter decks are fundamentally different. Yes, the packaging is kind of the same. You get the same amount of cards, but people have to understand starter decks are made for newer players who are not super familiar with the game, just so that they can kind of pick some stuff up and maybe get a couple of cards here and there that can, you know, facilitate a new mechanic. Structure decks are supposed to be competitive. If you think of structure decks over the last 5 years, ABC structure deck, I mean, that archetype 10 YCS right out the gate. You think of the Emperor of Darkness, that's obviously the Monarch structure deck that gave us cards so good they had to be limited, like Pantheism of the Monarchs and Aether of the Monarchs, another card that got limited. Domain Monarchs ended up winning the NAWCQ in 2016, just last year. You look at the Hero structure deck that gave us Dark Law. That was a card that was absolutely amazing, and Heroes made top 8 at multiple YCSs, and they did really well on the regional circuit as well. So you look at structure decks and you think structure decks are the fucking real deal. Structure decks are where you get incredible cards. You know, look at the Dino Masher's Fury as the one from this year, which was obviously very strong. And maybe if we would have got Pendulum Domination before, you know, that could have did a lot of things with DDDs. But it's crazy that Konami is telling us not only are we going to promote this card, but we want you guys to have it as a fundamental playmaking card. We want it to be a core strategy that a lot of players are using, and it's just baffling to me. Like, I think that Grinder Golem is so much worse than some of the other cards that allow you to go into some big link plays. I don't want people to misconstrue this. I don't want people to think that Cap is anti, you know, one card link spam, because yeah, I believe that some of the cards as starters can be perfectly healthy in moderation, or if they have drawbacks. And all of these cards do have drawbacks. Obviously, Grinder Golem eats up your normal summon. Scapegoat doesn't allow you to special summon or, you know, normal summon during that turn. A card like Gofu requires you to have an empty field, etc., etc. You can even put the Agent of Venus in there because that requires you to run a whole bunch of shine balls that can be just terrible if you draw those. The difference between Grinder Golem and all those other cards that you see right now, and yes, people do play Venus, they play it in the World Chalice deck, is the fact that Grinder Golem can be used 3, 4, 5, 6 times in a turn. That's where Grinder Golem, to me, like, that's where I'm at my wit's end. That's where I'm like, okay, I don't even think putting Grinder Golem at 1 is even acceptable. Now I think, like, you have to be banned, because when you use it, you summon the Grinder Golem, then you bounce it to your hand with Akashic Magician, and then you summon it again, and then you go to Security Dragon, and by the time that we have this reprint, guys, I'm pretty sure Security Dragon will be in the TCG, and you bounce it with Security Dragon again, and then you summon it again, and you make Firewall, and you bounce it, and then it's just like, well, what the fuck, man? I understand that I don't get my normal summon, but when I'm just spitting out Link monsters left and right, do I really even need my normal summon? And the worst part is, a lot of times Grinder Golem still ends up in your hand. I've said this before, in a deck like Mech Knights, aka Jack Knights from the OCG, a deck that runs Trade-In, it's a big deal to them because they can pop off. The deck does not need to normal summon at all, because none of the monsters in the archetype are normal summon monsters anyway. I mean, you can normal summon them, but they're all their inherent special summon. So you can put it back in your hand. You can summon as many Jack Knights as you want in that turn, usually OT King, and worst case scenario, maybe you just, you know, send it to the graveyard for a trade-in or something like that, because Jack Knights run Kaijus and some of the Jack Knights are level 8. So I think Grinder Golem is a completely unfair card, and it just doesn't make any sense. Like, especially if Konami has shown their pattern of behavior that they are going to hit some of the Link promoting cards. You guys know they already hit Gofu in the TCG and the OCG, and I even said I thought that that was a premature hit. I thought that Gofu was perfectly fine at 3 until the Link mechanic got off the ground, and maybe you can argue with Spiral being tier 0 that did happen, so I guess I'm okay with it, because I said that I wanted Gofu at 3 until the Link mechanic got off the ground, and it was, you know, at least in a good position where we were, you know, most decks could summon Link monsters relatively easily. You guys, again, could probably say that happened, but it's really weird because you're saying that you're going to at least address some of these cards, right? If you're going to hit Gofu and you're going to hit it relatively fast, why on earth would you ignore Grinder Golem, which is a far worse card? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So if you guys can make sense of any of this and what Konami is actually doing, please just explain it to me, because it seemed like they were actually trying to get out the degeneracy, the fire, anything that was like quite spammable and would kind of allow like firewall looping and degenerate shit like that. It seemed like they were taking it out of the game. You look at the TCG, they prematurely hit Grand Soul. They just fucking banned that card because it wasn't a hard once per turn. And the OCG, they just errated it to be a hard once per turn. So it's like Konami is sending us mixed signals. It's like, okay, is this type of spam degeneracy, is it okay or is it not okay? Because you're doing one thing and then you're saying something completely different. And as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, I find it incredibly hard to follow them, because I really thought that this card was going to get banned in the TCG probably before the release of Extreme Force, and now I don't even know if that's going to happen, because Konami's promoting it and they're, you know, putting it in structured decks, and they're saying, hey guys, this should be one of the fundamental strategies you build your deck around. So I don't know, man, it's just a little confusing, and I really don't like this card. Even the old, you know, Infernal Tempest plays, I thought that those were just bullshit anyway. So whatever you guys think, leave it in the comment section below. Whether you guys agree with me or don't agree with me, I obviously want to hear you guys' opinion, because I do find it kind of interesting when I get different takes. That's why I started YouTubing to begin with. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already. Turn on that notification bell for daily videos. And actually, let me just have one more quick point, because I think some people might be thinking, Kev G, can't Grinder Golem live? This card hasn't even done anything wrong in the TCG and the OCG, not doing much competitively. Why you want it banned so badly? Well, I mean, yeah, it's not doing much competitively in either region of Yu-Gi-Oh, but that doesn't mean that the fuckery is not still there. I have a very high disdain for cards that kind of create like infinite loops, or cards that can just be used over and over and over and over and over again in a turn. When if you summon something more than like 4 times in a turn, it's going to trigger me. It's going to piss me off. That's one of the reasons why I hate Level Eater so much, and I was glad that it ultimately got banned in the OCG. And if you look at Grinder Golem and why it's not doing anything in the OCG, like it's very simple. Like they still have full power Spiral in the OCG, and I'm sorry, but nothing is going to like shine when full power Spiral are in the game. It doesn't matter what that deck is. Full power Spiral are going to shit on, and they're going to hold everything else down. So it's no surprise that you're not seeing a ton of Grinder Golems and a bunch of decks over there, because they have full power Spiral. Like there's no incentive for them to run anything else, because Spiral is so much better than everything else. I mean, we learned that what, like a month ago in the TCG. And then when it comes to why Grinder Golem isn't doing anything over here, we just don't have the card pool. Like we don't have Security Dragon, and that's one of the main conduits of this card is for your second rotation of you looping it, you need the Security Dragon. And for us not to have that card, it's like, you know, really what is the point of this? And also Link Karibo is usually used in these plays. We just got Link Karibo this week. Skull Deed is usually used with these plays if you're not going to go the firewall route. Like if you are playing something like Jack Knights and you're trying to FTK, you know, Skull Deed actually helps you summon the Mech Knights. I know I just called it Jack Knights, but it helps you summon the big guys out of your hand. So we don't really have the full card pool in the TCG to take advantage of it. And plus, I've said before, by the time that we get the Mech Knights and by the time Extreme Force comes out, I think Spiral are going to get another set or another round of banless hits. So I don't think that Spiral will be nearly as dominant. And in the OCG, it doesn't matter. They have full power Spiral, so there's literally no reason to play anything that isn't named Spiral.